I'm Rachel Johnson, author of God's Girl and founder of the No Price Tag Conference. When I was growing up, I always thought teenagers were a statistic and it was going to be a challenge to get through my teenage years. I heard that kids have teenage pregnancies and they drink alcohol and they do drugs and it just kind of comes upon you and you better be prepared. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to serve the Lord and walk with Him all the days of my life. And I got to be 20 years old and I looked back and I said, I made it! I can't believe it! I didn't do drugs, I didn't drink alcohol, I didn't have a teenage pregnancy. Wow, I have made it. And so I was in Bible school, and as I'm in Bible school, a couple different youth pastors would ask me to come speak at their youth groups. And I thought, okay, I'll come speak, but then what do I tell them? I don't really have a testimony. I remember hearing teenagers growing up that were in drugs and in alcohol, and they got out of that lifestyle, and it was the power of God that delivered them. And I thought, well, I just kind of have a boring testimony. Nobody really cares about the good church girl. And so at one of those times when I was preparing to speak, the Lord spoke to me and He said, you do have a testimony. You tell those kids that they don't have to do all those things. They don't have to do drugs. They don't have to drink alcohol and be a statistic that everybody talks about. It's the same power of God keeping you from those things that delivers those other kids out of those things. And so I thought, okay, I can tell them that. That's my testimony. That's what I'll stand on. And so many years later, my husband and I became youth pastors. And we would have a conference every year for our teenagers, just encouraging them. You don't have to be a statistic, you don't have to do these things, you can remain pure until you get married. But then several years later, I got an email from a young girl, and she said, I just want to say thank you for your stand on purity. She said, I can tell you exactly what you're wearing, exactly what you looked like, I can tell you exactly everything about you. As you said, you do not have to be a statistic. You can remain pure. And she said, thank you. If one teenage girl is listening, maybe there are others that would listen too. Maybe others would grasp this concept. And so I wrote a book called God's Girl. And we deal with all kinds of issues in there, from self-esteem to purity, all the different aspects of things that teenage girls would struggle with. And so I wrote this book, got it in the mail, and I'm holding it and I'm like, well, now what? I got a book, but what do you do with the book? And so I thought, I can get some girls together. Let's get together, let's hang out, let's talk about these issues, let's see where they are. So we had our first No Price Tag conference in 2009, and we had about 200 girls. And the lady and I that did it, we were like, we're on to something. These girls are grasping these concepts. They want to be a part of this conference. We've got to do more of these. So from our first conference in South Dakota, we went all over the country, having the conference in different states. And then as we would do the conferences, our missionaries began to take notice. And they said, hey, if these concepts are working in America, you need to come to our country and tell our kids. And so the most fun we had was going to Kenya, Africa for an entire week. We spoke to over 6,000 teenage girls, going from village to village, from school to school, telling those girls that their value is found in Christ. And so since then, we've just opened up the doors and said, God, what do you want us to do? Where do you want us to go? And the conference has continued to grow and continue to impact thousands of teenagers across America and around the world. And so the bottom line for every single one of us is that our value comes from Christ. It does not come from the world telling you, oh, you're so pretty, or oh, you're so this or that. Our value comes from Christ and what He thinks of us and how He sees us. And that's what I want to continue to tell teenagers, is that you don't have to be a statistic. You don't have to do what the world says is normal. You can serve Jesus all the days of your life, and your value is found in Christ Jesus.